2TC is an achievement in Bloons Tower Defense 6 where you need to complete a game of chimps using just 2 towers. Today we're going to be doing this with the Bloontonium Reactor and the Flying Fortress. In any Flying Fortress run, as long as you get Spectra at a certain point and be able to have Flying Fortress money before round 90, or if you can pop the ledge during round 90 before getting the DDTs to defeat you, then victory is certain. Let's see, put our Flying Fortress down now, or soon to be Flying Fortress. Usually go with the camo detection cross path with the Flying Fortress, so they can by default detect camo balloons and pop them. But since we do have the Bloontonium Reactor, and we have the option of being able to pop les using the Bloontonium Reactor cross path with heat tip darts, I'd rather have the faster fire rate than the ability to pop camo balloons by default, since we can just decamify them. Barbed darts and longer range. With advanced intel, we should get for round 15 with just this setup like that. We'll get submersion support and heat tip darts so that our camo issues and our lead issues are alleviated for the moment. Rapid fire, gonna get lots more darts and sharper darts, and then we'll go from there towards never miss targeting after the change in priority by 1 option. Okay, round 24, decamify the camo balloon and we should be good. We'll also remove the submerged status for the time being. If I'm not mistaken, Flying Fortress is one of the top 3 OGs within the Bloons Tower Defense 6 index. It's like the most common tower to appear with a lot of other towers. So like you have like base ninja probably, for example, or base alchemist if you're based enough in order to do that sort of thing, or just mad enough to try that sort of thing. So yeah, there are lots of combinations with the Flying Fortress just because, well, the Flying Fortress is so damn powerful. Although even like the Wizard Lord Phoenix, the Flying Fortress, the Archmage, Sky Shredder, any like very competent 2 tower chimps player would just say, they're alright, they're nothing good. Like, when it comes to any kind of tower, it's just alright is the best rank that you could possibly give, because, well, 2 tower chimp players obviously have such high regards for everything, and when they don't perform exactly how they want them to perform, then they can be downgraded dramatically. Lots more darts, sharper darts, centered path, which will be very useful later on when it comes to getting the Spectra and the Flying Fortress, just because we'll have the cursor up here so we have as much range of the track as possible along the straight line. I do want to do this on a different map outside of this one or logs, but honestly trying to micro the Moabs pre-Spectra is just not a good time for me, honestly. And I know there's been somebody who has done submersion support and Flying Fortress, but guess what? I am not that certain player which micromanages all day just to get a particular combination done. I have other things to do in my life aside just play Bloons Tower Defense 6. I'm not pointing out anyone in particular, but there are far more dedicated players out there than I am that tries to get the absolute perfect microization when it comes to a particular combination. Obviously next up will be the Spectra and then the Flying Fortress, because we're not getting the Energizer today. The only drawback when it comes to not being able to see camo balloons by default is that we can only really start popping DDTs with the Flying Fortress as soon as they become decamified, which is a bit later on in the track and a bit more likely in which the DDTs will turn in other directions rather than just be along this one straight line here, but I think we'll manage. Round 49 sees us with a huge amount of balloons. I wouldn't say it's as much as round 63, but it still can be a little bit of a problem if you do not have enough pierce with your towers in order to deal with everything. So this single mower could be a bit of a problem alongside the second one as well, because your darts are kind of prioritized with other things. May need to exit you out of your submerged state so that you do a bit more damage against the Merle class balloon here, which I'm not really excited about trying to deal with. Okay, let's try that. And yeah, there's still a lot of threats here, honestly. But that should do it. Actually, we can have Spectre now, so that little problem is now deviated. You can just about see it, but I put the cursor on the top right-hand corner of the screen. I have a question for everybody who's watching right now. Do you think I should do a collaboration video with another Balloons tuber? And if so, who would you say that you would like me to do a collaboration video with? I'm honestly like a little bit scared, honestly, if I did do that. Not because of the collaboration itself, but I feel like then my content would become more anchored around collaborations in the future. Whereas like every other YouTuber could be unavailable on a particular day where people are demanding for a collaboration video. And there's strengths and weaknesses obviously with collaborations. Strengths being you are reaching yourself out towards other people because you're sharing your viewpoint for another channel's fan base with your own perspective on things, your own opinions, your own like strengths and weaknesses at the game, but also your ability to content create. Because remember, this is not just about the video gaming space in itself, but it's also about how you apply yourself to the video, like the content creation of the video in and of itself. And to be honest, like I'm always like talking a lot, but when it comes to like probably outside of balloon stuff, like if people like to ask questions about like, I don't know, what you do within your day-to-day basis and stuff like that, I always find myself to be a very uninteresting person. I feel like whatever I do could not be anywhere near as interesting as, let's say, another person's daily view. And I know that people would say, well, don't devalue yourself so much as to that, Flare Balloons. But honestly, like I've mentioned a few videos of my own that I don't have a very high amount of self-confidence in and of itself. I've forgotten the actual wordings that I've used, but it's a way to like build your own self-confidence up. Like it's not called confidence, it's another word that's like self-something. I don't have a huge amount of that for myself. I always find that other people's work is much more enjoyable to watch than my own content. And to be honest as well, I'm not a person who really likes their own voice, because it's like I'm listening to another version of myself in an audio file form. So maybe it's just the fact that I'm my own worst critic or something along those lines. And also, like, do I feel like am I worth the other content creators' time, to be honest? Like, am I wasting their time, let's just say? Perhaps I'm not, but I always got like an instinctive fear that I might do that. So whether it be a content creator of a similar size, or one thing I do fear is that if I would to, let's say, collab with a much larger content creator, so let's say if the possibility of content creation collaboration with, let's say, H-Bomb or Ethan Reed or SJB or ISAB or any other like the 100Ks plus, I always feel like that I would be the content creator that would gain much more because of the exposure in and of itself, rather than, let's say, it's a more symbiotic thing where both content creators get something out of it along just, well, besides the actual engagement and the collaboration in and of itself and sharing your viewpoints on the subject itself. So it could be a 2-tower chimps, it could be a 2 Megapops, it could be an expert map or something along those lines. I just honestly feel like I'm not hugely worth the other person's time, but at the same time I'm really devaluing myself. But I'd rather devalue myself a little bit rather than have way too much confidence and just be like, well, the other person clearly thinks that I'm not worth their time, even though I feel like I have such a high self-esteem in that regard. Oh, that's the word, self-esteem. So I honestly feel like it swings both ways, but I think just probably having, like, if I had my first collaboration with somebody, perhaps that would just tear down the barriers of self-doubt just that bit, so that it feels like I could actually do this in the future for other content creators as well. And perhaps I am definitely devaluing myself. So anyways, I'm on round 79 at the moment, so just a little bit of a conversation there, like who would you like to see me collab with, and what could that video be about? It could even be like a discussion on a 2-tower chimps combination and describing the strengths and weaknesses of that particular combination. So let's say with this particular combination, with the top path submarine with the bottom path ace, you could say that, well, the only purpose for the submarine is early game and removing the camo status so that then the Flying Fortress can deal with all of the DTs and all that stuff. And you always know that with a Flying Fortress 2-tower chimps combination that this is definitely the powerhouse, because this is getting the huge majority of the pops. Like, no doubt that this will be a 2 Megapops and a 2-tower chimps. Or it could even be like a podcast style video where we have quite a lengthy discussion about something. It may not even be like directly involved in the game, but also like about the community at large. And I always feel like I've got a little bit to say about certain viewpoints within the community. Like, there is certainly a lot of positives, but there's also a lot of other subjects that could be delved into, and it's not for the sheer fact that it needs to be ironed in towards people's brains, but it's like there is always something within a community, regardless of what community it is, that is not as bright as other aspects. So for example, let's say if you're unable to do a chimps game, just in general, a chimps game, not even let alone a 2-tower chimps or a 2 Megapops, just a chimps game on logs. Like, you're trying to do a chimps game for the first time, and then a top 0.1% player sees that experience, and then they go, well, how the bloody hell are they failing this hard? Like, surely this is like the easiest thing to do, because you're on logs, you've got lots of space, you've got a lot of RBS, which stands for red balloon seconds, on the screen. You cannot possibly fail that. Even as a new player, even if it's your first time playing the game, you obviously, how could you possibly do that sort of thing? Like, it's not possible. Like, logs is like the easiest map in the game. Well, my point is that everybody's first time is obviously going to be the most difficult time, and everybody's first time of experiencing with something more difficult. So that's kind of like where 2-tower chimps is a sort of thing, because it's a very difficult scenario because you're completing chimps with just 2 towers. But then other people will be like, well, this is an incredibly easy combination because once you get Spectra essentially, or even like never miss targeting, then it is an incredibly easy game. But that is from the perspective of somebody who actually has so much knowledge and so much experience within the game itself that it can't be conversed to other people within the community, and not everybody has that kind of interest as well. Maybe I need to put you over here so that you're a bit more in the center of the field, but it's like not everybody has the same experiences in this game. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses. Imagine if I were to turn around and say, well, how the hell could you not do a tier 3 mortar 2 Megapops? Like, it's obviously very easy because I was able to do it, so how the hell could you not do it? Well, firstly, I would be biting into my own values and think that the most important thing about a game is to have fun on it rather than being the top tier player. Although, if your fun derives from an incredibly difficult challenge, then obviously that is definitely within your right to feel like that. Like, if you feel like you get the most amount of fun is by doing all these crazy challenges, like doing an expert level chimps on, let's say, Glacial Trail. Like, 2 rounds out of 10, most of your towers are frozen, with the exception of like ice towers, and even like Jerry's fire doesn't get frozen. And your perma-spikes can sometimes be effective because of, well, even though you're not laying spikes down for 2 of the 10 rounds, you're still having spikes on the field, so they still have some use. But I always feel like there is a point of discussion when it comes to the overall community and how they interact with a certain kind of like opinion when it doesn't completely overlap with their own opinion. So let's say, for example, this combination right now, I don't need to buy anything else to complete this. somebody's going to say, well, you could just do this with submersion support. Like, that's so easy. But I don't want to do that. So my sense of fun sometimes can come down to a stupidly difficult challenge. So once upon a time, I did a 2-tower chimps with Ultra Boost and the Crossbow Master, and I knew going into that, I would be there for multiple hours trying to do particular rounds. And I knew that round 99 would have been stupidly difficult. So that is why I knew that it wasn't going to be a cakewalk, because obviously it wasn't done at that point. And I knew it was going to take me so many attempts because I needed to work out the perfect micring with the targeting priority with the Crossbow Master in and of itself. It's like, that is something that I practiced for hours. But then you probably get somebody else to come along and be like, well, I could just do it my first time. I could be like, well, show me the proof that you did it on your first time. Well, I can't really show you proof because I don't record my gameplay, but all I can tell you is that I did it first time and it's incredibly easy. And to that, I'm just saying BS, because there are lots of things within this game which are stupidly difficult. But the community's aspect of it sometimes is that from this is honestly for the minority of people, but there are honestly people out there that just feel like that they are above other people because they have a certain trait at the game in which other people have not picked up. And when you've not picked up that trait, other people, I mean, for example, you feel like you have a platform above others, a moral above others, because you've acquired a certain knowledge, you've acquired a certain thing at the game that makes you feel empowered, even though you are dropping some kind of moral aspect because of the factor that you feel like you're bigger than someone else. So anyways, the Bloontonium Reactor and Flying Fortress 2 Tower Chimps. Only 34,000 pops with this and 2,008,000 pops with this. Thank you all so much for watching, everybody. Let me know what you thought of this video down in the comments sections below. I know, like, the second half of this video has been mostly about talking about two different things, like the idea of a collaboration with another content creator. Also, as well, just another thing I thought of, time zone. I'm in the UK, and as far as I think, majority of like the Bloons tubers are like in America, so it's like my version of the morning is their version of night, and their version of like the afternoon is my version of night, or like go to bed time. So it's like there's also a timeline or a time zone barrier. But anyways, let me know what you thought of this video down in the comment sections below. And yeah, original Geraldo, just his mustache and his mustache. Pretty handsome fella, I must say so myself. Thank you all so much for watching, and take care of yourselves, everybody. Please be sure to use my creator support code whenever you are shopping within the store. And what boss is going to lay next on Saturday, where it's going to be, gosh, I've forgotten. It's going to be FaZe, isn't it? Unless, of course, FaZe is out of bounds and Bloonarius will return. Because Ninja Kid, we did do that once, where we went from Dreadbloon to Bloonarius, then back to FaZe. Something along those lines. Thank you all so much for watching, and take care of yourselves, everybody.